So yesterday there was another shooting of an African American man. His name was Keith Lamont Scott, over there in North Carolina, Charlotte to be exact. Now, the police and his family are painting two different stories. I'm going to go over to the article right now. Well, turns out I have two of them. Um, excuse me. But what we do know for sure is that he was shot, killed by the officers. That is what is factually known at this point. His family said that he was unarmed and sitting in his car reading a book, waiting for his son to come from school, according to CNN. But Police Chief Keir Putney said yesterday, well, not he didn't say this yesterday, but yesterday is when this occurred. Scott exited his car with a gun, not a book, and officers couldn't find a book at the scene. Now, the police chief, who is black, said it's time for the voiceless majority to stand up and be heard. It's time to change the narrative because I can tell you from the facts that the story's a little bit different as to how it's been portrayed so far, especially on social media. I had something blocking the way of me being able to read that. Now, again, this police chief is African American, or at least black. I'm not sure what all, you know, if it's as straight laced as that. I'm going to assume it is. I'll be very surprised if I'm wrong. But also the officer who shot him, Brentley Vinson, 2-year veteran of the police force, who's currently on paid administrative leave, is also black. And, you know, I'm bringing up race, which I normally don't like to do, because it's painting the picture that this shooting is different from most other police shootings that Black Lives Matter and just individual African Americans have protested against, in that the perpetrator of the killing of a black person was another black person. And I think that's very important to point out. So, you know, off the bat, I kind of have a reluctance to really see their angle. Um, Especially when I have this admitted kind of reluctance to believe officers just going to come up to you and, you know, shoot you. I really believe that what they're saying about, you know, him exiting the vehicle with a gun and refusing to drop the gun probably occurred. And, you know, the guy, Vincent, just assumed the worst and shot him. Is that right? Probably not, but you know, there has to be a point where, and I've seen it a lot of times with myself and with others, you know, we all want to be right and we all want to argue against something, but, you know, it makes no sense for people who are aware, as he was, I'm sure, of these, you know, continued police shootings and the fact that they will shoot you regardless of what your race is, to still try to put up a fight against it. And look, I'm not saying, oh, that makes them right and that makes you wrong. You probably are right. But is it worth dying over? You're sitting up in you know, heaven or wherever, limbo. He's probably in heaven. I'm going to assume that. You know, I don't know the guy, so I won't make a comment as to that would be negative towards. I'm just, you know, giving him the benefit of the doubt. As far as his morality, you're sitting up in heaven and they ask you, was it worth it? And you go, yeah, man, I proved my point. Told me to put my gun down and I was holding on to it. Does that really sound beneficial towards anybody? Because you wanted to prove, you know, that you were in the right. You got shot. You got killed. Your family lost, you know, whatever you were to them. And now you're in wherever, unable to continue on with your life because you just allowed it to be ended over something so petty. There's no way of justifying this to me, and you know, I keep trying to explain that this kind of stuff happens over in Chicago all the time, but it gets completely ignored by Black Lives Matter. And so because of that, I have this thing where I don't really pay much attention to them and their opinions on things. because it's just selective outrage. I mean, I'm sitting here watching this video by one of the people I'm subscribed to, uh, and he's commenting on all of these different, he's watching the reaction to it today earlier this morning, and they have this one lady from the NACP. Her name is, I think, Corin Mack. Let me look it up. No, you know what? I'll just, because I want to make sure that, yeah, Corin Mack, she goes up there and she starts talking about, oh, we're being treated in such a horrible way, and we're all being abused. And you know, I was so inclined to not believe that right off the bat, because I know that's not the case. But also, blacks abuse themselves all the time. We murder each other. And they tell me that, that is crazy. And it makes sense why somewhere like TYT, with Cenk Uygur, Anna Kasparian, John Idarola, they only have really like one black person on. I think it's Randy or something. Would say what they say and be all protective of Black Lives Matter. Obviously, they don't want to lose the support of that group. They want to seem supportive. It makes sense for them to have the views of that group that they do. And I kept, they ignore Chicago just as well as any other major news organization, which is really sad, but whatever. That's not a criticism of them as individuals, just of the formatting of what news they choose to pick out. And the sad thing is they did it on all the shootings in Chicago. They'd probably be doing it every day. But again, I refuse to believe that we're just being picked out as the guys who will, who everyone has some kind of beef with and has an advantage over. I don't buy that. And sure enough, they have these protests tonight, and somebody apparently died from a gunshot wound. They were killed by another another civilian. And something in the back of my mind, just knowing only that someone got killed over there by another person who wasn't, who was just a regular citizen, I have a strange feeling the person who shot was black, and the person who got shot was black. And that's off of knowing nothing else about this story. But we all assume things when we hear or see something on the radio, on the computer, on TV. And that's the first thing that came to my mind. I'll be very shocked if this is some other race on either side. I'm about 90% sure it's a black person who fired the shot, and it's about 50, 60, 70%, maybe 75% sure it's a black person who got shot. And that's horrible if that really is the case. It's bad when anybody dies, but especially to kill, yourself off like this. And, say what you want about the officer, at least he can kind of be under the jurisdiction of, oh, I wouldn't have approached the guy if I wasn't a cop. He can at least say that. You have it happen in Chicago every day where people just go up and blow somebody out, and BLM just completely ignores it. So, I know I'm rambling at this point, but if there's one thing to take away from this story, it is not to believe the first thing you hear, because the way they were talking about this made me think, oh, it's some racist white cop. Cop's not even white. So that's already, something that was not explained or verified. They have me thinking, oh, the cop just, shot somebody that was unarmed again, got a gun. Oh, the cops were just picking on him. Told him to put the gun down. He said no. There's too much stuff that they're doing on their end that causes this type of situation. Let me just keep saying, I am in no way justifying, saying, oh, you deserve to die. None of that. I'm saying that if you want to stop this, and if you truly and, heartfully want to see an ending to these shootings, I don't care if it's a black mother watching this, black father, anybody that has any control over an up-and-coming, young African-American person, teach them to stop fighting law enforcement. However you feel about Corin Gaines, she died because of fighting law enforcement. However you feel about the Ferguson thing, which is most infamous to me, but whatever. He died fighting law enforcement. This hands up, don't shoot thing does not apply here. It's not applicable. So no, I can't believe it. I won't believe it. And I'm making that warning. Please stop this. We don't need more blacks being murdered, especially in a way that could be argued as being in the right on the other person's end. If I'm telling you, if African American parents, a lot of you are very young, teach the kids that are coming up to stop, or to not, or to basically comply with law enforcement. You won't see these murders. You will not. I can guarantee it. We need to stop. We need to basically ignoring this and pay attention to it and say comply with the officers, and then after that we can just focus on cleaning up Chicago's bad side, which isn't as bad as people say it is, but media makes out to be the U.S. version of Iraq. So thank you for watching and have a good day.